of going a positive way. There's sort of, if you will, an uptick in life, and especially with the Democrats owning the House of Representatives. So some balance has been restored, and Election Day was a very happy day. We had a successful cruise to the polls thanks to Rollers Only, Car Club, as well as Intruders. And so shout out to both Jimmy and Jose. So I have a really good guest today, David Damien, who's on the line. David, are you on the line? Can you hear me?
I'm here. Thanks, Dee. It's great to be with you all.
Yeah, happy Vets Day. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy Veterans Day. I'm doing wonderful. I'm here in the Coachella Valley in Mesquite, California, which is like just down the street from where they have the Coachella Festival.
Just down the street, what?
Where they have the Coachella Festival.
Is it going on now?
No.
Oh.
It's going to be in April.
I love Coachella.
Yeah, it's going to be super crowded over here soon.
Listen, can you give my audience, just a little tidbit of David? I've been following him for a few years. I know him through Bel Hernandez. Bel Hernandez obviously speaks well of you, and you've done a lot for the community in entertainment. Can you give my audience a sense of who you are? This is your soapbox moment.
Well, I started out, and I grew up and I was raised in Buckeye, Arizona up until I was 5, but I was born in Phoenix because obviously at the time that I was born there was a hospital in Buckeye too. So my parents separated and then divorced, and we moved to the Yuma, Arizona for a bit, and then we traveled and worked. My mom worked various jobs, and so we were always with her, and part of those jobs that we did were either housekeeping, and but a lot of the time it was doing field work. So I have a very deep passion for that. My mom was a wonderful influence in my life. She was a child farm worker, and she was very inspirational and had a lot of tidbits of wisdom. I graduated from Yuma High School Yuma High School, home of the criminals. And I went out to tour with a group called Up With People. I learned to sing in the fields over the years, and a group called Up With People, and it toured internationally throughout Europe, Mexico, all throughout the United States for about a year. And I was the lead in that show. Came back, and then I went to, I made the trek over to Los Angeles or Hollywood, if you will. There was a show at the time called Star Search. Very much like, it was the American Idol of its time. I auditioned and went all the way to the grand final. What I discovered after I did that is that, I really liked the whole production, what happened behind the scenes. And so I was introduced to some folks. They took me to this Sony Studios where Michael Douglas had his offices. And they were just starting to develop, some Latino artists, and so they needed a Latino publicist, somebody who spoke a little bit of Spanish and what have you, and that's how I got started in entertainment. And I went on to become an independent publicist, working with some very iconic, groups and recording artists like, Jose, Tito Puentes, Celia Cruz, Boyz II Men, La India, Mark Anthony. Lots of different folks, and during this time I met Eva Longoria, and I represented the Johnny Canales show out of Corpus Christi. And that went on for about 10 years. I met a woman by the name of Antonia Hernandez, who was looking to have more celebrity involvement in a lot of the civil rights work they were doing at MALDA, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund. Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of merging. And this is where the whole thing started for me, in merging entertainment artists and civil rights issues. And so we did that, and we had they went on for 3 years, and I went on to AARP, did the same exact thing, the same model I did at MALDA. Did that for 7 years there, launched AARP Segunda Juventud with others in the company. Mm-hmm. then went back to become the vice president of MALDEF, and now I'm, working on the senior team of Farm Worker Justice. It's a new job that I just started. I'm very proud to be out here. Coachella Valley is highly underrepresented when it comes to farm workers. And in between those times, I executive produced a couple of films. One is called The Harvest, The Children Who Feed America, and one is called Food Chains. And Food Chains is also, both of them, the documentaries are online or streaming. And I co-executive produced them with Eva Longoria, who's a very dear friend of mine. And during all these years, she and I worked together on a lot of philanthropy and civil rights issues and campaigns, social impact campaigns. Also done some recordings and produced, different TV and shows and things like that. So I just had an eclectic career, but it's always revolved around civil rights and voting rights, immigration rights, farm worker rights, and just social justice issues in general. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, that's a lot. That is a lot about you. Tell me, just a quick question. You have an impressive resume. It's massive. What was the most memorable experience for you in the entertainment industry?
I think, the one thing that really, when you're really trying to make a name for yourself when you're younger, and I'll never forget it. I was working with Jose, and Jose, had some trouble. I'm not sure if your audience members there must be folks out there remember, who know who he is. The iconic, he's like the Latin Frank Sinatra. Huge, some great hits. I started to work with him when he was trying to rebuild his career, and I was, his wife and I were very good friends. To make a long story short, I thought, I called my client, Johnny Canales, who was doing this show out of Corpus. It was called El Show de Johnny Canales at Univision. And I asked Jose to do it. And, he was backstage, and he said to me, there was a woman that made her way backstage, and I was kind of concerned. So I said, what are you doing back here? And she goes, well, she told me in Spanish, she wanted to get his autograph. And I said, well, can you come after the show because he's got about ready to go on and perform. And she said she would. And so he asked me, who was that? And they said, oh, it was just a fan. And he goes, oh, just a fan. And I goes, yes, it was just, she'll be back. And he goes, well, how will she find me? There's a lot of people here. He goes, let me just tell you something. My fans are the most important thing to me. They're the people that pay for the food on my table, my family's table, and the rent, and pay you. So just always remember that we have to treat the fans as if they were the most important people that exist, because they're the ones who are able to do what we do. So that left an indelible impression. I've never been the type of person to really be, arrogant or anything like that. But, there's a lot going on backstage, and just, it was easy for me to just tell her that he told me to go find her immediately. And I went to go find her, brought her back, and he signed her autograph. And that will always stay with me, because and it just says a lot about him and the way we should treat people in general, that every single person is absolutely important. Every person is a very important person in the VIP network. So that's my response to your question.
When I saw on your social media, I saw that you've taken on this new position. You're part of the senior team of the Farm Worker Justice team. Why? Why did you take that position? What's your heart telling you? I mean, you know what I mean? There's a lot of work involved in advocacy. I know. I'm an immigration advocate too. So I wanted to ask you why.
Well, it starts from, a child. My family, there was a lot of discrimination. My grandparents, my tias and tios, my uncles and aunts, that all experienced discrimination working in the fields in Texas. You know, there was always wage theft back then. There was, you know, a lot of intimidation, oppression. My name, I have two first names because my name is, you know, my name is David Damien. And my dad named me that. His name was Eustaquio, you know, which is very, very, you know, Mexican, you know, from Mexico. And, which, you know, I love his name. But he named us boys after kings, you know, his four boys. Because he said that, you know, he didn't want anybody in the school system to go and say, okay, you're now, you know, your name is Jose Luis, your name is now Joe Lewis. You know, so the teacher could just do that. And in many cases, your name would be changed through the school system and legally changed. So my dad just, you know, said, you know, I'll just beat him to the punch. And so, you know, my brother was Lewis, my name is David Damien, Daniel E., and my other brother is James Emo. And so everybody thought we were crazy because we're Mexican and had these names, but it was just my dad making, you know, his statement against the injustice of that in the school. Something so simple to other people, but, you know, your name is what your parents name you. Nobody else has the right to rename you. But, you know, to answer your question is that, you know, there's always injustices in the world. And there's been always, you know, a lot of different, you know, as we evolve through time, just like technology evolves through time. You know, social justice issues also present themselves, new ones. But, you know, the one thing about the farm worker issues, just immigration issues and other issues that affect Latinos in America and, you know, in other parts of the world, is that they seem to get better and then they get worse. And they get better and then they get worse. And I agree with your statement, you know, at the beginning that we're at a tipping point, you know, that things will, you know, all of this will soon pass, but there's a need for people, you know, to go to smaller communities. You know, I made all the noise I could possibly make and all of the impact I think I could possibly make. I was at the highest level of the civil rights organization, you know, and I have no formal education. This is like, you know, the law firm of the Latino community. So I'm just saying that, you know, one of the main reasons I wanted to the Coachella Valley is to work on farm worker issues. And I really feel that you call the universe, and I kept telling my mom, kiddo, you know, my stepmom, you know, I really want to be working on these issues. This is very important to me. And, you know, Dolores, what if I would come to, you know, over here? And she goes, well, do it, you know. If that's what your heart is telling you to do, then you got to do it, you know, and make all the sacrifices you need to make to do it. So we just sold everything in LA, cashed out, came over here, got a house. It's cheaper to live here. But, you know, I was born, and my purpose on earth is to serve others. And farm worker issues speak to me because they're the most, you know, when you look at farm workers, you're looking at immigration issues, immigration injustices, you're looking at wage theft. When you're looking at Coachella Valley, you're looking at extreme heat. You're looking at health issues, safety issues, women, you know, sexual harassment, you know, all kinds of, you know, injustices, child laborers, laws, you know, that are just, you know, and it's all in the name of trying to put food on the table for America. You know, and the very people that are out there, you know, busting their butts in the field can't afford to go into, you know, into the store and buy the same foods they're picking for America's, you know, for us, you know. And so I think that, you know, we need to show more appreciation, more compassion, more, you know, more intent when it comes to the people that are serving us.
Absolutely.
And making sacrifices for us.
Now, so. I know, you know, we've talked this weekend before the show. I get a good sense of who you are based on the information that you put out there on social media. But I wanted to kind of pull more from you on a personal level when I spoke with you on the phone. And One of the things that stuck out in my mind about you was the influence of the women in your life. I'd like for you to tell us a funny story. I know that you really looked up to your mom and your tia, but tell us a funny story, something memorable with regard to your mom or your tia that you want to share with us.
Well, yeah, I would like to, my mom, I have a lot of funny stories, but my mom was a very serious person. She was a very kind, compassionate, giving. She was more. Then I have this tia that lives in Buckeye. She's still there. She thinks she's about 85. She's, but there was a time my mother couldn't raise me, so my aunt went and picked me up over in Tucson, and she brought me to Buckeye. So I had to go back to the school where I came from, where I started, right?
Uh-huh.
So we had the free lunch program, and so got registered for school, signed up for the free lunch program, and of course they give you this big old yellow ticket, right, that you're on the free lunch program, just to advertise it to everybody, right? I'm on the free lunch program. So, but it was embarrassing, not because we were happy with my tia. My tia was just an amazing person. It still is. But, we came home from school one day when my cousin Betty and we got off the bus, dropped us off over, near the, way she lived on the outskirts of town. We get home and we ran in and my tia was, do you guys want a sandwich? So she made us a bologna sandwich or something, and she put that together, and we just wolfed it down like quick. She goes, hey, ¿qué pasa aquí? What's going on? You guys why are you so hungry? She goes, didn't you eat lunch? And we go, no. And she goes, why? And so he explained the process. Everything in America is about process. And when the process only serves certain people, we got to work to change the process. So real quickly, my aunt goes, well, what happened? And I said, well, when the school bell rings for lunch, if the teacher lets you out late, then you go to the end of the line. So, but the yellow ticket folks, the free lunch ticket people, they go last. And if you get last in the lunch line and the food runs out, then the food runs out. Now, we're talking about, 1970 or something like that. I was about, 9, 10 years old. So my tia goes, get my purse. I don't know what that means. Get my purse.
Here it comes.
Get in the car. And, we go in. And all I remember is my aunt with, her, it was, my aunt could speak English, but it was still broken English, and she did not have a formal education, but she always stood up for herself. And I could just hear her throwing F-bombs at the end of the, and just telling them how terrible it was. That they were doing this, and this was wrong. And so the next day was different. The next day, anybody could just go whenever you wanted to go. But it takes one person, and it's not a funny story, but when we talk about it later, we talk about it because my tia, she didn't take nothing from nobody.
It's funny because she threw chingazos. That's why it was funny.
Yeah. I don't know if we could say that, but she was like, she was like, you think you're better than us, and you're not better than us. And I could hear that. And again, that left an indelible impression. So, there's these things that when you're paying attention to the people that are standing up for themselves, and it comes to your opportunity when you feel injustice, I always try to resolve things in a very kind, whatever way. But, I have no problem standing up for myself, but I'm more, I would say, quote unquote, an expert at standing up for other people. That's been my calling, because I can take care of myself. And there's people that cannot, because they don't know their rights, or they're afraid to be deported, or, life has beat them down. So.
Yeah, and you're working with some of the best people on this earth. Dolores Huerta comes to mind. She's my Shiro. She's my Martin Luther King equivalent with regard to women. And didn't she marry you? Where did she marry you, here in Arizona or in California?
Well, she's my madrina. Like the people that step in and witness for you.
Uh-huh.
Her, Ava Longoria, and Tom Sainz from Malda, and Antonia Hernandez, who was the president, general counsel from Malda. Her husband was the judge that actually took the ceremony. Yeah, it was done at Malda in the lobby, and he wanted to make a statement, because of gay marriage and all that we're actually doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and it was it was very memorable, It was very, very amazing night. Yeah, but we'll go back to the women. It's like, I have been mentored by Hilda Solis, who became, the U.S. Labor Secretary. Mm-hmm. Antonia Hernandez, Dilma Martinez is the U.S. Ambassador. I mean, at the time that that if you're really thinking about it, women, I think were brought to the earth, and I think the more, we're looking, I think this is, I think this is worth talking about. When you see over 100 women, being elected this round, this last midterm election, and put into office, that tells you something. I always feel that women lead with compassion. They lead, firmly. They lead respectfully, and a lot of them, because nobody is perfect. I would say, my experience, my person, I'm not going to generalize. They lead with, they don't lead with their ego. They lead, trying to be peacemakers. So it's not about, how big your muscles are, and how this is really about, how do we resolve. Because women have always been the problem solvers. Women are problem solvers. If they maintain a household, they raise children, they go to work, they volunteer, they make sure the family is unified and going to church, or all kinds of things. They're managing so many things
you're
in
right.
a day. And in America, traditionally men go to work. They're supposed to go, ideally go fishing with the sun, and but women really, really got it going on. They really do.
And you're right about church. You're right about that. I mean, you see more women in the church pews and making sure that their children are getting a spiritual foundation, whatever it is, whatever religion, philosophy they choose. They tend to be the ones that care about that. We have about 2 more minutes left.
Oh my God, I thought too much.
No. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, I'm so glad that this is live, but it's recorded, and you're just giving us a lot of gold nuggets, and you're the salt of the earth to me.
Didi, I have so much respect for you. You're always voting and registering people to vote. And, I watch you. You have a very amazing style of how you do things, so you keep doing it, and God bless you for doing it,
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you, and I admire you.
Same here.
I want to spend the last couple of minutes with whatever's in your heart and your soul, in your mind. What do you want to pass on? I mean, what advice do you have to mankind, and as we wrap it up?
Well, I don't know about mankind, because that's a bit, I'm like trying to work in my circle. But you know what, I really been telling folks, that, Dolores taught me how to meditate. She taught me how to eat right. She taught me, because she's a vegetarian, and I've been, really working. On Facebook, I'm always posting stuff. Meditate, eat right, so mind, body, and soul. For all the people out there that are warriors, we're all social justice warriors, right?
Yeah.
You're going out there, and you gotta take care of yourself first. And there's always going to be people hating on us, but we cannot be haters. back at them. We really, people always talk about reaching over the aisle.
Yeah.
We really, really need to learn to do that. Because you know what? No one is our enemy when we're trying to make progress. No one is our enemy. We are all brothers and sisters, and we're all looking for the same thing. We're all looking to be safe. We want to feed our families. We want to have housing. We want to have clothes. We want to have an education. We want to go on a vacation. All of us want those things.
Yeah.
Even the people who we think are our enemies. But what we need to do is when we do get in those leadership positions, and we will, we have to be not who they were to us. We have to be good and kind and compassionate, firm and fair. Because then what we can do is we begin to destroy and have the destruction that has been placed on us and the oppression. We never want to be the oppressors.
Wow, that's great. Thank you so much for that. And I just want to tell my audience again, Damien Figueroa is on the line with me from California, and he's done a lot of work for our community. Have a lot of respect and admiration for him and what he's done. And now he's part of the senior team for the Farm Worker Justice Program. And with that, I just want to thank you, David, for being a special guest on my show. And happy Vets Day.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Peace, love, and justice for all. There you go, honey.
Amen. And my producer, Osvaldo, says hi, and he says bye.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Tequila Onda radio show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, thank you, Dee. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. Peace out.